Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. This is part 2 of my series on converting your old tractor, in this case my Farmall Super C, to 12 volt and alternator, replacing the old 6 volt battery and generator regulator system. Since the last episode, I got my belts. They came in, and I got 2 belts for the alternator because I wasn't sure of the exact length, and I'll just take the other one back. It appears that this one is the one that I need. So what we'll do here to make sure is put the alternator with this new bracket on. I already hooked the alternator onto the bracket. And we'll see how it fits together. Alright, let's take a look here. Yeah, that's where I want to be. Yep. Perfecto. I also got a new fan and water pump belt. And I want to put that on and get everything adjusted on that end first. Well, come out of there. So we'll put this in. This belt's kind of a bugger to get underneath the crank pulley. It barely fits. And it's got to go around the water pump pulley here. You just don't want to go around the crank pulley. You got to go around the crank pulley. My hands won't fit in here. I do think that putting belts in places that you can barely reach into with your hands is one of the best parts of mechanic work. I really do. Now just the fan, there you go. You're all on there. I didn't even cut myself. Wow, that's amazing. Just go in there and tighten. You know, I don't have all day for you. I got other things to do. You probably don't believe me. Here's the deal with this fan belt. You can pry up from the back, like so, and then you've got to tighten it. Alright, I got this fan belt, water pump belt in, and it's good and tight. Now then, the next step is to make the alternator tight. You know, you got to have a way to tighten the belt that's got a slot in it like this. This is what came off, and I thought that I wasn't going to be able to reuse this because it was too short, but I got to looking at it here, and it appears that I can put on my tensioner like this and then bolt it through this radiator brace rod here, and that'll work out just right. But the issue is I don't have enough room to get in here to drill a hole in here to mount the rod to, so I think I'm going to have to take this rod off. Well, let's just take a peek in here and see how easy it is to take this rod off, or how hard. All it does is mount with a bolt back there. As long as it doesn't spin, I should be able to take it off. I can't get this radiator brace off without taking this cowl off, and I can't take this cowl off without taking this carryall off the front. So that's the way it goes. And I supported it on my stool. I figured if it holds me, it'll hold the carryall. I just have to slide this out a few inches so I can get to the bolt in front of the hood, or cowl, or whatever. That'll do it. It's this little bugger right down here. One-handed. There. I had to do that because what I was turning on here has a bolt head on the other side, and I got to put a wrench on both of them to take this brace off. Before we go too far here, we want to mark where we want to put the hole for this. Well, this has got to come out some way. There we go. We'll drill a hole for a 5/16 inch bolt where I made the mark here. Put it back in. Where's your hole, bolt? I can't see anything. I don't know. Here it is. Now before we put everything back together, we want to make sure that our bracket will work here. Oh, that bolt's a little long. Looks like we're good. We still have, I don't know, 1/2 inch of adjustment outwards. I couldn't go out further on here because this thing starts to run out of plane. It's not true, and so it would have put a twist on the alternator, so I had to locate it back. But that should be plenty to tension the belt. All right, I got everything tightened up here. I got to put some washers in here to get everything in the correct plane with the alternator. And then we can put this bolt on here to tension the belt. If I ever have to replace this belt again, I'll probably go with a little bit shorter one so I have a little bit more room for the belt to stretch on this. This will work fine though, for the next 15 years. I can go ahead and put this back together. I won't show you that, you saw it once already. Just play it backwards if you want to see it again. Can you do that on YouTube? I don't know. Next we got to hook up the alternator. Easy peasy, one wire. Alright, we'll hook up the battery, just temporary, because we're going to test fire it and see if it charges. Neutralis. Ignition on. Gauge moved. Wrong way, but it moved. It's charging, but the gauge is backwards. I got to reverse it. I suspected that would be the case. That's why I didn't put all this back together. So we'll take it apart and reverse connections on the ammeter, because that way the gauge will read correctly. Alrighty, I got that reversed. We'll fire it up again. It's on the draw side. See how the coil energizing moves the switch. That's a good sign. There we go. I forgot to turn the gas on. Gas on. She runs good. Now I can put this battery box back together. We can button everything up. I can't see a darn thing. I'm going to put a little dielectric grease on these fittings. It's not something I normally do, but I figured, hey, I'll try it. There we go, ready to be buttoned up. All she needs is cover now. That's it. It wasn't really that big a deal. You don't need to know all the ins and outs of electricity. You just kind of got to follow the process. And this is one of the most common upgrades that folks do to their old tractors when they're running them day in, day out, and they're focusing on reliability. I have a couple notes before I finish this video. One on the hobby of collecting and restoring old tractors. If you're familiar with the automotive collecting world, there are real snob purists out there that everything has to be exactly factory for it to pass a sniff test. I'm not one of them. When I restore a tractor, there's certain things I focus on, and then there's certain things like an alternator that I do that's not original, but I like to do for reliability, and that's me. I mean, I own the tractor, I restore it the way I would like. You're welcome to restore the tractor that you own the way you like, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, running tractors around with this kind of finish on them, some people prefer that over repainted tractors, and I respect that. I like this tractor the way it is, and that brings me to my second point. Is this tractor a good candidate for restoration, a paint job and going through the engine and all that? And the answer is yes, it is. It fits my criteria. I use it all the time. Any tractor I restore, I want to be one that I use so I can enjoy the restoration instead of it just sitting in a barn. It fits in my shop and it's nice to work on in the shop. Plenty of room in here. This is a lot easier restoration project than the MD was. These parts for these engines are plentiful and cheap, and I also have a head start on restoring this because I've already been through the front end steering system. I've been through, well, I put the alternator on. I've been through the transmission. I've replaced seals here and there throughout the tractor. I've already replaced the bearings on the crankshaft, although if I go through the engine, that may be needed again. So, you know, if I do decide to restore another tractor, this may be toward the front of the line. It would look nice with the H in the MD, I think, you know, 3 of a series, the letter series. Anyway, I quit rambling on. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and the reason I didn't put the hood and the muffler and things back on is because I'm going to service this tractor while it's in here, oil change, etc.